Mockingbird and Liarbird by Raya Wakayami on AO3. Chapter 18. Izuku blinks owlishly in the early dawn light as they all assemble in front of the lodge the next morning. They all feast the night before, once dinner had been ready, and afterwards most everyone went to bed early, worn out by their long hike through the woods to get there. They'd been woken up at 4 this morning, with the announcement that breakfast was ready and that they needed to get dressed and eat before 5. Aizawa looked exhausted, but he always does. Hitoshi yawns loudly next to Izuku, Koda rubbing his eyes on the other side as Aizawa explains what they will be doing this week. And after Katsuki demonstrating throwing the ball, Izuku frowns, sharing a look with Hitoshi. Never had to do an assessment for Aizawa. They follow the pro to the clearing where they'll be training in. Pixie Bob, Manday, Ragdoll, and Tiger are already there and waiting for them. We designated specific ways for you to push all your quirks and build up your strength with them. The point of these exercises is to push yourselves in a controlled environment and go past your limits. If you hurt, keep going. We'll be keeping an eye on you to ensure you don't push yourself too far. If you need a break, ask for one. Make sure to stay hydrated. There's a water station set up over there. He points to a large wooden table set with 3 large water coolers and a cup to use. He starts pacing students where their stations are set up, explaining their exercise and how he wants them to push themselves. Soon, it's just Hitoshi and Izuku left. Aizawa-sensei, we never did an assessment test with you, Izuku mentions, as he leads them further through the trees. You're right, we didn't, Aizawa says with a nod. Normally, I would have, but seeing as I helped train you two, I had a good grasp on your abilities. He explains, as the area opens up and a square earth building comes into view. There's also 2 others waiting for them, Vlad King and Monoma. Morning, Aizawa calls with a nod. Hey, Vlad says with a nod, as Monoma huffs in annoyance. These the last 2? He asked. They are. Midoriya, Shinso, you 2 will be working with Monoma. He will be copying your quirks, and you will be using your quirks on each other. Why do I need to work with these 2? Monoma demands, hauntedly. Because you need to learn to control mental-based quirks better when you copy them, Vlad says brusquely. And because we say so, don't press your luck, Monoma-kun. I don't want to hear back that you refuse to work for them. There's class rivalry, and there's obsolete, Vlad warns. Yes, sensei, Monoma murmurs, sulkingly. The first half of the day will be quirk training. The second half, for you 3, will be physical training to increase your stamina and rest your quirks. Mental-based quirks, as well as copy quirks, are limited, so you need to make your bodies your weapons too, Aizawa states, and they all nod. The room is soundproofed, so don't worry about any sound getting out. The 3 nod and walk inside. It's pretty simple inside, just a round table, some chairs, and some sound equipment, all of which Izuku was taught to use by Yamada a while ago. Well, might as well get started. Hitoshi huffs out, dropping into a chair. Izuku follows, taking his own seat, and finally, Monoma takes the last chair. I guess we should explain our quirks, Izuku murmurs obviously. My quirk allows me to copy sounds and project them, mentally rather than vocally. I have a wide range and I could hit infrasonic and ultrasonic frequencies. I can also hear that range and have an electrical memory for sounds, Izuku says quickly. And I could also throw my voice. He remembers to add. I can brainwash people if they respond to me. Usually a question, but I've been working on ways to word things so it doesn't always have to be a question, Hitoshi explains with a shrug. Some people I can hold easily, others it's a struggle. Pain from moderate and higher levels will knock someone out of it. I'm still working on catching more than one person. I can copy quirks, Monoma grumbles. Izuku leans in a little closer. Oh, yours is touch-based, right? Did you copy just the quirk factor, or do you copy the full DNA strand? And if so, do you also get the physical mutations people develop to handle their quirks too? Are there other quirks you could copy? Your cells must be very incredibly adaptive to be able to change so quickly. I wonder if you have an increased cellular division in faculty that rapidly changes to copy more physical-based quirks, and if it translates into an increased healing ability. Izuku murmurs, starting to get lost in murmuring on quirk theory. Monoma stares at the green-haired boy in shock before looking at Hitoshi. Yeah, this is normal, Hitoshi says with a grin, before kicking Izuku's shin under the table. Izuku looks up before flushing slightly in embarrassment. Sorry, he murmurs with a wary grin. I like to analyze quirks, and copy quirks are really fascinating. I thought mine might be a vocal copy quirk because of how I can copy sounds, but I don't have the adaptability quality to make my quirk to do so. I tried to copy the vocal aspects of Hitoshi's and Yamada Sensei's quirk, but it didn't do anything, Izuku explains. Okay, Monoma says slowly, still a bit shocked. I can copy up to 3 quirks right now and hold them for 5 minutes. I can't use more than one at a time, and I am limited physically by what quirks I can use. Things that require training and conditioning, I can't use without hurting myself, and things that require a specific resource that is built over time, I'm unable to use, even if I copy them. Izuku hums softly, mind absorbing the information. Can you combine quirks? Izuku asks with a tilt to his head. Like, if you had 2 compatible quirks copied at the same time, could you instead merge them together to make one quirk, thus being able to use them at the same time, or merge aspects of them? Izuku asks, curiously. I don't know, Monoma admits. I've never tried. Well, Toshi and I both have mental and sound-based quirks, so maybe we can try it once you've gotten some control over our quirks. Izuku offers. You're not afraid of me stealing your quirk? Monoma asks softly, surprised. If you're not afraid of me stealing your voice, Izuku says, using Monoma's voice. Or of Hitoshi brainwashing you. He uses Hitoshi's voice. Why be afraid of you copying our quirks? He finishes with his own voice. Oh, Monoma says softly. Yeah, welcome to the club. Hitoshi says with a shrug and offers his hand. Monoma shakes it. Thank you, Monoma says, and Izuku perks up, hearing the hum enter his voice. I can hear the hum in your voice. You copied his quirk. Good. Here's mine, Izuku says, excitedly, and holds out his hand. Monoma takes his hand briefly. Then he winces at the sudden increase in what he can hear. Oh, here. Izuku reaches across the nearby stand to snag a pair of headphones. These will help muffle the sounds until you get used to it. I can hear a lot, Izuku admits with a grin. I've learned over time to mentally filter it out unless I'm actively focused on hearing something. Thanks, Monoma says with a nod, and pulls them over his ears. Are you using mine or Hitoshi's quirk right now? Izuku demands, suddenly. Yours? Monoma says with a frown. I knew it. Izuku crows with a grin. It's there. There's a hum. Toshi? What? Monoma asks in confusion. I've got a working theory that all sound and vocal-based quirks have a sort of hum to them. It's hard to tell with mine because, well, reasons, but Hitoshi and Yamada Sensei both have it, and now you've copied mine and I can hear it as well. I think it's how the quirk expresses itself. Hitoshi's hums allows it to create a connection with someone, to brainwash them, and Yamada Sensei's hum allows him to amplify his vocal expressions to create a concentrated force. Maybe my hum allows me to throw my voice, or perhaps to increase the range of my sound frequency. He murmurs to himself again. Hitoshi kicks him again, and he flushes. Sorry. Let's go to work before they come to check on us and find us slacking, Hitoshi says, and Izuku nods with a grin, Monoma nodding as well. Hitoshi huffs, ducking under a punch and backing away as Izuku follows. After lunch, They've been assigned with Tiger for physical training with Monoma. He pulls Hitoshi and Izuku to sparring at Shota's recommendation and was focused on Monoma, who didn't have as much training with fighting as the two of them did. How's the head, Toshi? Izuku huffs out as Hitoshi reaches out to grapple him and deflect his arms. Better, Hitoshi admits. He ended up getting a nosebleed near the end of their morning training as he pushed himself a bit too far. How's your headache? He asked back, shifting back onto his foot to dodge a high kick. Much better, some food and water helped, Izuku says with a grin. They paused as Monoma and Tiger moved past them. The man, pulling the blonde through paces as Monoma curses up a storm while trying to dodge Tiger's purposefully slowed strikes. Less gawkin', more punchin', Tiger calls out, and they turn back to sparring. Yes, Tiger-san, Izuku calls out. Monoma-san seems nice, Izuku says softly once Monoma is far enough away. Izuku aims a punch for Hitoshi's gut. He reminds me of us when we first met, Hitoshi admits quietly, jumping back before going for his own punch, only to feint and grab Izuku before kicking him out from under him and knocking him to the ground. Hitoshi pressed a knee on his chest with a grin. 2-1. He pants out and Izuku huffs, but grins and accepts the hand back up. Izuku sits off to the side of the main chaos of the cooking area, working on peeling potatoes for their stew. Ayamama is next to him, going much slower, but with a look of concentration as he peels the skin away. How do you do this so quickly? He asks after tossing the chunks of his third one onto the pot, while Izuku's already on his 8th. Lots of practice, Izuku admits. I often helped my mom make dinner, and when I was too small to reach the counter, she had me peeling vegetables to help. We have a cook, Ayama huffs out. But I'll admit, it's nice to cook our own meals. Right? It's really relaxing to cook. Plus, you can feed people you care about, you know? Izuku says brightly. Are you a good cook? Ayamama asks. Izuku shrugs. I'm okay, I guess. My mom is better, and so is Hitoshi's dad. They're constantly sharing recipes. Izuku finishes, peeling his potato and quickly cuts into the chunk into the pot before them grabbing another one. Ayama-kun, can I ask you something? Izuku asks, not looking up from his potato. Of course, Oyama says with a flourish of his knife and potato, smiling with some extra sparkles. Have you ever, well, have you ever had a crush before? Izuku asked quickly, flushed a little, voice slow to keep from being overheard. Oh, do you have one? Oyama asks excitedly. Izuku shrugs. Maybe? I don't know. I don't think I've ever had one before, so I'm not sure, Izuku admits with a frown, pausing in his peeling. Well, Oyama says softly. How do they make you feel? Uh, well, I always want to be around them, even if we're not doing anything, and I'm always happy to see them too, but that could just be friendship. Izuku huffs out. Do they make your heart beat faster? Do you want to kiss them? Ayama asks with a knowing smile. Izuku flushes bright red. Maybe, he admits softly. Then I do believe you have a crush, Ayama says with a bright grin. Who is it? He admits. No, I'm not saying. Izuku huffs out and goes back to peeling his potatoes, mentally willing his blush to fade. Hey, thanks, Hitoshi says, coming up to take the mostly full pot of cut potatoes. Here's a fresh pot, he adds, setting an empty one down. Grinning at them, he walks off, weaving between people to put the pot on a counter space. Izuku can feel his cheeks burning. Oh, I see, Oyama says with a wide grin. You like him. Shh, Izuku hisses, looking around frantically to make sure no one overheard the blonde. It's just a crush. It'll go away. Why? Ayama asked softly. I I don't want to ruin things, Izuku admits. Toshi is my best friend. We've been through so much together. I don't want to risk that over a stupid crush. Izuku murmurs, angrily cutting the potatoes into chunks. Why do you think it would ruin your friendship? Ayama asks, softly cutting his own potato into chunks. What if he doesn't like me back? Then it'll become awkward and we'll drift apart, and then he'll stop talking to me. Izuku rambles, getting ablated. What if he does like you, though? Ayama asks, with a raised brow. Izuku, for his part, doesn't say anything, unsure what to say. Hitoshi glances around, noticing the missing face, and stands, putting together a quick plate of food. Toshi? Izuku asks with a frown. I'll be back. Just keep some food for me? Hitoshi says with a smile, and Izuku nods. Turning, Hitoshi aims for the place he last saw Koda go. He accidentally overheard Shota and Mayday talking the night before about Koda and what happened to his parents, the hero's water hose. He noticed throughout the day the boys sulking on the edge of everything, glaring and scoffing at what they were doing. He also recognized the anger grief in his eyes. Through their anger and grief are different, Hitoshi still recognized it. It's not hard to find the boy's trail out of the eating area. He's obviously been this way a lot because there's a pretty worn trail already. He soon finds him on a cliff, tossing pebbles down to the trees below. Hey, Hitoshi grumbles, and Koda freezes, mid-throw before tossing it. Go away, Koda growls. No, Hitoshi says, sitting a little away from Koda, but putting a plate between them. You don't like us much, do you? He asked. What? I don't like a bunch of show-offs? All you care about is being heroes and being famous. Koda hisses. Not all of us want to show off, Hitoshi says, looking over the trees. In the distance, he can see the lights from the lodge. Some of us want to help people. Koda sotes angrily. Yeah, right. You'll just end up dead like everyone else, he murmurs. Your parents? Hitoshi says. Koda sends him a glare. I overheard Mayday talking with Aizawa-sensei, Hitoshi explains. You know you're lucky. I'm not lucky, Koda grumbles angrily. No, really, you are. You had parents who loved you and wanted you, Hitoshi says softly. Mine gave me up when my quirk came in. Hitoshi informs the boy, dark eyes staring at him silently. I bounced around a lot of different homes before I got a good one. You have a good home, too, with Mayday and the rest of them? They're gonna die, just like my parents, Koda whispers. Maybe they will. Maybe they won't. But everything dies eventually. Hitoshi says with a shrug. Your parents loved you, and they did everything in their power to not only save people and you, but to come back home to you as well. They didn't die because they were showing off. They died to make sure you were safe from a really bad person. I'm sure they wanted to come back home to you more than anything, Hitoshi says softly. They're still gone, Koda whispers. I know, and it hurts. But they still loved you. Enough to give their lives to make the world safer for you, Hitoshi says softly, and stands. That's more than a lot of people have in the world. He turns around and walks back to the lodge, leaving the boy to think. Izuku looks up at him as he takes his seat and shakes his head. Nodding, he turns back to Ida and continues their discussion. Today it'll just be you two training out here, Aizawa explains, at the three of them, motioning towards a table with some chairs. Midoriya, you're with me. Izuku waves to the other two before following Aizawa into the soundproofed room. What are we doing today, Sensei? Izuku asks, looking around to see two chairs in the room with the same sound equipment. We're going to attempt to use sound to paralyze, Aizawa states bluntly, and Izuku's eyes go wide. What? He asks quietly. Hisashi reached out to Gainorka, who was gracious enough to send a recording of the frequency he uses when he does the sonic attack. You'll listen to it, memorize it, and attempt to recreate that frequency. Once you could reliably hit that frequency, then we'll practice on a person. Me. Aizawa says simply. But, Sensei, I can't use this on you. Izuku insists shakily. Why not? Aizawa demands sharply. It isn't permanent, and will wear off. We also have one of the others in here, once we do attempt it, to make sure everything is fine. You will need to be able to use this in real life on real people. You won't have time to hesitate if lives are at stake. If you can't do this, then you might as well leave the program. Aizawa says harshly. You must use and master all the tools at your disposal. I don't want to hurt you, Izuku admits, wiping at his eyes as they tear up a bit. Midoriya. Izuku. Aizawa crouches down a bit to look him in the eye. It's scary when you're first learning something. If it hurts, I'll inform you, and we'll make this a last resort sort of ability. But I trust you. I know you'll know your limits and when to stop. Okay? Aizawa asks softly, pressing a hand to Izuku's shoulders. Izuku sucks in a shattering breath before nodding. Okay, Izuku says with a nod. Alright, go grab the headphones and put them on. I'll set up the recording. Aizawa says, and Izuku does as told. Once set up, Aizawa hits play, and Izuku listens to the high-frequency note. It's not as high as he was expecting. In fact, he's hit this sound before, but there's a pattern to it, fast pulses to it. It's not one continuous sound, but a vibration. He's never tried to do something like that. Usually he builds up the frequency and holds a note until it starts to resonate with a person's inner ear and the fluid in the rest of their body. But this, he can see how this would affect a person so quickly. The recording cuts off. Got it? Aizawa asks. Yeah, I think I understand the trick. I'll need to be able to get to that frequency from the get-go rather than build up like I normally do and then increase the vibrational pattern, Izuku says with a nod. Good, Aizawa says, grabbing his own soundproof headphones, and takes a chair. You know how to use the equipment. Get to work. We'll go at this as long as we have to until you're ready to do it repeatedly. Yes, Sensei, Izuku says, as Aizawa pulls on his headphones. Izuku turns on the machines and sets up the microphone. Once he has everything set up, he plays the recording again to gauge where the frequency is at and then starts to train himself to hit that note repeatedly over and over again. All the while, Aizawa watches him from his spot in the chair. Why are we here? Monoma asks quietly, as Aizawa and Mende set up a room. Izuku is off to the side, fidgeting with his fingers nervously. I'm here for emotional support, Hitoshi murmurs. Dad had explained what they were going to be attempting, and he just knows Izuku is going to panic right after he finishes the exercise. I think they want you to see some of the things sound-based quirks can do whenever you copy one, Hitoshi adds. Mayday comes over with 2 headphones. Put things on so you don't hurt your ears, she instructs, and they nod. Taking the equipment and putting them on, Mayday puts on her own headphones and stands off to the side as Izuku walks into the center to face Shota. Remember what I said, Midoriya. Shota reminds him softly. I trust you. I'm ready when you are, he says, with a nod and a glance at Mayday. Izuku nods, hands shaking, before he tightens them into a fist, taking a deep breath. Hitoshi can't hear the note. He probably couldn't even with the noise-canceling headphones off, but he can feel it. Sort of? He can feel a faint pressure against his skin as the air moves at the sound Izuku is making. He watches in shock as a few seconds after Izuku starts, Shota just drops to the ground. Izuku stops abruptly, rushing forward to help turn Shota over to his back. Hitoshi and Monoma pull off their headphones as Mayday walks forward to crouch over Shota. Aizawa-san, can you hear me? Mayday asks, and the man blinks. Can you move? 2 blinks. Any pain, tingling, or numbness? 2 blinks. Any difficulty breathing? She asks. 2 blinks. Mayday nods. He is fine. We'll just need to wait for the paralysis to wear off, he explains. Izuku sucks in a shuddered breath and falls back on his wheel as he cries a little. Hey, it's okay, Hitoshi says, quickly walking over to wrap Izuku in a hug. Uh, I'm okay. Just overwhelming, you know? Izuku sputters out, wiping at his eyes. It takes a few minutes for the paralysis to wear off, and Shota sits up with a groan. Problem child. He murmurs, and Izuku looks up with wide eyes. I'm okay. He reassures him, and Izuku nods frantically, wiping at his eyes, with a shaky smile on his face. They soon get the room set back up and take their leave. But it's still early, Izuku says as they start to head back to the lodge. We'll be letting you all end a little early today since we're having you test your courage tonight, Mayday reminds him. You've all been working so hard the last few days. A little break and fun is needed, she explains with a smile. True to her word, not even 10 minutes after they left the soundproof room, the rest of 1A and 1B are treading back to the lodge an hour earlier than usual to clean up and start working on dinner. Izuku was quiet for most of the dinner, still a little shaky after the experiment with Aizawa. You okay? Hitoshi asked his friend, leaning into his side a bit. Izuku smiles wanly. I will be, he says softly. It was just stressful, you know, I don't like hurting people I care about. Well, I don't like hurting people in general unless I'm forced to, but yeah, I'll be fine. Izuku finally finishes. Okay, let me know if you need anything, okay? Hitoshi asks quietly. I will, Izuku says with a nod before turning back to his dinner. Once finished, they all head back outside near their training areas to begin the test of courage. After the remedial students are dragged away to do their lessons, it's just the rest of 1A with 1B already getting into position to stare them. I've got an idea for scaring, Toshi, Izuku admits, and pulls something from his pocket. Is that Mei's drone? Hitoshi asks with a grin. I asked Aizawa-san earlier if I could use it for scaring, and he said I could, between my sound projection and its image projection. He trails off with a smile. Have I said how much I love your evil brain? Hitoshi says with a grin, and Izuku flushes, but grins back. They call the group to order and explain how the groups will be formed. Unfortunately, Hitoshi gets the short straw and is by himself while Izuku gets paired up with Katsuki. Damn, you got stuck with the bag of dicks, Hitoshi murmurs sulkingly. Toshi, be nice, Izuku scolds. I'll be nice, if he's nice first. Hitoshi shoots back, childishly, and sticks his tongue out, making Izuku laugh. Well, go on, just leave me. I'll see you on the other side, Hitoshi says, and Izuku nods, waving as he goes to stand near Katsuki, who just glares at him and turns away. When it's their turn, Izuku walks a little behind Katsuki as they step onto the trail in silence. Izuku's heart is beating heavily. He doesn't really like scary things. Toshi always makes him watch scary movies just to see him jump and squeal at certain scenes. Hopefully he won't embarrass himself out there. Katsuki is ignoring him, and the silence is getting to him. They come across the first area, where a head pops out of the ground suddenly, and Izuku jumps, using a hand to muffle his yelp of surprise. Scurrying past them, Katsuki snorts at his reaction. They keep walking. Scaredy cat. Katsuki taunts. So? Izuku huffs back. They keep walking further along the trail without running into anyone. Finally, Izuku breaks the silence, if only because it's becoming awkward, at least to him. How are Auntie Mitsuki and Uncle Maruzu? He asks softly. Katsuki chuckles in annoyance. They're fine, he grumbles. You'd know if you ever actually visited them. He points out. You know why I stopped coming to your house, Kachan. Izuku reminds the boy angrily. Whatever. Katsuki growls out while stomping further ahead. They walk in silence for a minute before he lets out an explosive breath. How's Auntie Inko? He asked. She's good. She started to finish her law classes to get her law degree, he admits with a small proud smile. Good, Katsuki murmurs. Izuku draws in a breath and pauses, sniffling again. Kachan, wait, Izuku whispers. What? Katsuki growls out impatiently. Do you smell that? Izuku whispers, looking around. It smells like smoke. Someone started a fire? He demands angrily. I don't know, but I feel like we should have come across another group by now. Izuku whispers. Nerves getting the better of him, and he shifts closer to Katsuki. Just keep moving, I'm sure they're just trying to scare us. Katsuki growls, and Izuku nods nervously. Izuku listens out, but it's silent. Too silent. Something's wrong, Izuku whispers, even as they walk. I can't hear anything. Not even night animals. Izuku points out. Something's scaring them off. It was probably us or the others, Katsuki growls. But even he looks concerned, a frown marging his brows as he looks around, the two having stopped. I don't hear anyone near us, Kachan, Izuku hisses, looking back the way they came. There's no reply, and Izuku looks back to see Katsuki is gone, and in his spot a masked man with a top hat standing there. Hello, he greets, and then grabs Izuku's arms before he can react. Hitoshi waits quietly for his turn to go. He had honestly wished it had been him and Izuku paired together, if only because Izuku makes the best noises when he's scared. As they stand there, he smells something and frowns. Hey, do you smell smoke? Hitoshi asks Pixie Bob. Frowning, the blonde looks around before her eyes seem to spot something. Hitoshi follows her gaze and can see dark smoke against the stars-skied. There's a fire, Pixie Bob says quickly. We need to call everyone back in and... Before she could finish, a pink glow envelops her and she suddenly goes flying out to be struck by someone in her head. Sorry to intrude, but we're here to take care of you, a new voice says, and Hitoshi stares at the large woman in front of them, hefty and beaming warped in her cloth over her shoulders. Behind her, a second figure appears from the trees, heavily mutilated, with scales and a tail, and over his shoulder is an amalgamation of blades. Pixie Bob! Ida shouts. Stay back! Tiger orders, throwing out his arm. We'll handle this. Mayday, set out an alarm. She nods, and shortly Hitoshi hears the orders going out for all students to return to the log and that villains had infiltrated their camp. Hitoshi is about to do as ordered when he remembers Koda. He left earlier to go to his hiding area. Mayday, I know where Koda is, he says quickly. He watches the increase cross her face before she nods. Go grab him and return. Do not fight. Only run if you come across anyone else. Got it, she orders. Nodding, Hitoshi takes off. So glad he'd taken to wearing his capture scarf everywhere he goes like Dad does. Grabbing the bottom of the edge, preparing it just in case, as well as for comfort. He sprints through the trees, quickly finding the trail that he needs to reach Koda's spot. What he finds makes his blood run cold. A towering behemoth of a person is standing on the cliff, fists wrapped in Koda's shirt and lifting him up. Koda's crying, frantically pulling at the man's hand. Hey! Hitoshi yells, reaching down a chunk of rocks at his head. The man turns, still holding Koda, and Hitoshi can only stare at the scar across his eyes and a strange implant. Just wait a minute. I'll be with you soon. Just as soon as I'm done with him, he says, waving off Hitoshi. And who the fuck are you? Hitoshi yells out, reaching for a connection. I'm... The villain cuts off and stares into space. Put Koda down gently and let him go, Hitoshi orders, and he does, setting the kid down and letting him go. Koda rushes over to Hitoshi, who grips him tightly. Why are you here? Hitoshi demands. To attack the camp, kill as many as we want, and take those on our list. The man says. Who's on your list? Hitoshi asks, heart beating heavily with fear. Katsuki Bakugo, Midoriya Izuku, Shinso Hitoshi, Ragdoll, he informs him. Why do you want them specifically? Hitoshi demands, worry worming in his mind. Izuku and Bakugo are out in the woods right now, alone. I don't know, he says evenly. Where is your base located? He asked. I don't know. I was told to meet the group here, he says. Hitoshi curses softly. Unable to figure out any more questions to ask, he turns to the subduing the villain. Lie down and go to sleep. Don't wake up until I say so, Hitoshi orders, and the villain does as told, lying down and goes to sleep. You saved me, Koda whispers. I did, but we need to move, Koda. They're after people, and we need to warn the pros, he says, and quickly hefts Koda onto his back. Hold on tight, Hitoshi warns, and takes a running jump off the cliff, captures Scarf, lashing out to wrap around the branch of trees below and swings them down, using his heels to slow them as they come across the forest floor, and unwinds the scarf from around the branches. Setting off at a run, he aims back the way they came and almost collides with his dad. Dad, thanks gods, Hitoshi cries out. They're after people, Dad, Hitoshi quickly tells the man. What? Hitoshi, Aizawa says, taking in Koda on his back. What happened? He orders. Some villains attacked the main clearing, and I went to grab Koda. There's a villain up on the cliffs there. I used my quirk to stop him from hurting Koda. He said they're after me, Izuku, Bakugo, and Ragdoll, Dad. Hitoshi gets out quickly. He watches a rage of emotion cross his dad's face before it firms into a look of resolution. Take Koda back to the log. Vlad is guarding the other students there. I'm sending out the orders for everyone to use their quirks to defend themselves. So you're fine. Do not leave that log, got it? If they're after you, I want you somewhere safe. I'll find Bakugo and Izuku and help Ragdoll. Go, he orders, and Hitoshi wavers before nodding and running towards the log, heart in his throat as he does so. He stumbles into the building to see Vlad in the hall. In front of the door, the remedial students were using their classes. Get in, Vlad orders, and Hitoshi nods. He finds a lot of students have already arrived, but not everyone is there, including Izuku and Bakugo. He sets Koda down and lets the boy cling to his hand as they wait. They all hear the announcement that the students are allowed to use their quirks and training to defend themselves, and that Bakugo and Izuku are targets and must be protected. Then nothing. Nothing for an agonizing 20 minutes as they wait there in silence. People trickling in ones and twos, no one able to say what exactly is going on. Shoji, Kaminari, and Tokoyami come in. Shoji's bleeding heavily, while Tokoyami looks ashamed. Neither has seen Izuku or Bakugo. Those from 1B stagger in too, many of them unconscious and draped around people's shoulders to be laid down on the floor as others gather to do what first aid they know. There was this guy creating glass, Tetu says hastily, wavering slightly from his fight. We took him out, but I still inhaled some, he admits, and leans against the walls as Kendo fusses over him. After, seemingly an eternity, Tigers come in with Bobcat, cradled in his arms, to lay her down, Mayday's coming in behind him. Hitoshi jerks up from his couch when Shota walks in as well. The look on his face has Hitoshi sinking. Dark eyes glance around the room counting people and, obviously, coming up short by 3. Koda runs to Mayday, and Hitoshi walks slowly to Shota. Dad, Hitoshi asks softly, voice shaking. Shota shakes his head. Ragdoll is missing, as are Izuku and Bakugo. Shota admits softly, face pale and shaken at the outcome. Hitoshi's ears ring as his dad's words, and he has to sit down hard to keep from falling over. I've already called the emergency services as well as the police. They're on their way, Vlad says with a grin twist to his mouth. Nezu is also aware and is rallying staff to help out. Recovery Girl will meet us at the hospital. He's already calling students' parents, he adds. Hitoshi tunes them out, curling up against the wall as they wait for the emergency personnel to arrive. He doesn't even remember much of what happens after that. He ends up in a police car on the way to the hospital to be checked over. He loses track of his dad in the hours after, as he and Vlad speak with the police and organize with the other UA staff that arrive to look over the students and gather their things from the lodge. Hitoshi finds Hitoshi in a waiting area, turned rest area for the students who aren't hurt badly enough to need a room. The closest hospital is a small county hospital, not equipped to handle almost 40 patients in various states of injury and distress. "Hey, Toshi," Hisashi whispers. Most of the other students are asleep. No parents have arrived yet, but it's only a matter of time. "I brought your stuff," he adds. "Is there any news?" Hitoshi asks softly, pleadingly. "I'm sorry, but there's not," Hisashi says apologetically. "We'll find them, Toshi, I promise," Hisashi whispers, and pulls Hitoshi into a hug, the teen latching on as his shoulders shake. Oh, we're going for 2 episodes that are emotional in a row. First we got Welcome to Your Hero Academia with that ending. Or not ending, but like end of the chapter, which was, oh my god, and now we got this one with this end of the chapter? Oh, okay, we're gonna go over my notes. I will touch upon the end later, because I'm gonna start to tear up again. I had to wait a little bit before I did the outro, because tears. Monoma not being that much of an entitled brat I like that. As much as Monoma being an entitled brat is such a haha funny moment, it could get a little annoying. I want him to be more than just a one-dimensional character, right? So having him be more than one-dimensional, I love that. Ayo Mama. Hold up. I pronounced it correctly during the video. Ayo Mama. No, I can't even remember how it's supposed to be pronounced. Ayo Mama? Ayoma? I don't know how to pronounce his name. Okay, whatever. His voice, I had to... It took me a while to replicate what his voice was in the beginning when I first did his voice. So I'm glad that I'm able to replicate that. I genuinely was afraid that I wasn't going to be able to say it. I started saying his name properly. It's not Ayo Mama. It's something else. I just realized it's not Ayo Mama. I've been calling him Ayo Mama. No one's been correcting me. Oh well. Okay. Well, Ayo Mama. No, it's not Ayo Mama. I'm gonna have to look back in the recording and see what it was. But, onto the big thing, which is Izuku got kidnapped. It's not just Izuku and Bakugo. It's not just Bakugo, it's Izuku that got kidnapped as well. And I was a little scared about that, but I'm like, it's not gonna happen. It's gonna be fine. No. I knew immediately once Hitoshi dealt with what's it called? Muscular so quickly. I'm like, okay, all right. Or not once he dealt with Muscular quickly. I meant like once I started seeing signs that it was going to be Hitoshi that goes after Muscular and not Izuku, I was like, okay, all right, something's going to happen to Izuku, right? Because why isn't Izuku there? Izuku's almost always there. And if it's Hitoshi, that is a clean-cut battle, right? One response, done. Battle's done. For such a big part, being reduced to just such a small thing, I was genuinely worried. I'm like, okay, what's gonna happen to Izuku? And then Izuku and Bakugo got paired together, right? In that courage thing. And I'm like, oh no, please don't tell me. Please don't tell me. And then that scene happened and I'm like, fuck. Okay. I hate that. I hate that so much. We're in chapter 18. We have 2 chapters to wrap this up. I'm scared. I'm scared. I checked the tags before I do this, but the thing is, I checked the tags of this fanfic specifically a while back, right? I don't check them, like, I get the permission, and then I put it in a list of fanfics I could then turn to once a series is done. So sometimes I completely forget what the tags are. I completely forgot what the tags in this one is. So I'm gonna go look at them after I'm done with this recording and make sure tags like major character death or bad ending isn't in there. Because I'm scared. I'm scared. I'm scared. It's the nervous laughter for me. And I have an announcement, or not an announcement, but more of a question that I am going to ask, which is, would you guys be interested in live recordings, or not live recordings, but lives of me recording an episode, right? Or not an episode, a chapter. Oh my god, I don't know what's my obsession with calling this episodes, but specifically with the me recording, right? So you would be able to see my whole process and stuff like that, including my very, very funny reactions. Like how I genuinely started to cry when Izuku got kidnapped, right? That scene. That's something that you here in this very edited video do not get to see. But if I was to do recordings, like lives, you guys would have like time beforehand, like not even just like an hour beforehand. You would have like a day or two beforehand to know, okay, that day Echo is going to stream and going to do a live and is going to do this series and this chapter, right? So you would be aware of it, but you would also get my very funny reactions, and you would get to talk to me because you would go in the chat and I would respond immediately, or not immediately because I'm recording, but like whenever I can, whenever I look over to the side and see you guys' comments and stuff like that. Is that something you guys would be interested or whatever? I'm also gonna ask it later in a post or stuff like that. I don't know. Maybe I'll just do it here and on Discord and see what the opinions are. Or maybe just here. I don't know. I'm still thinking about it. It's something that I've been thinking about lately, as like an extra kind of thing that I want to give you guys. It is the holiday season. The season of giving, I guess. Whatever. But, you guys are so lucky that I've changed to every single day. This series was always every single day, but like you guys are lucky because otherwise, like this could have been like a, oh, you wait till tomorrow, or oh, you wait till next week. I would be evil and make sure it lands on, oh, you wait till next week, because I'm evil like that. But y'all are lucky. Y'all are lucky. As always, my raindrops, make sure to eat, sleep, drink water, take your meds. Have a wonderful day or night. Join our community Discord server. Link is in the description. Subscribe to see more of my content. And thank you so much for watching.